Okay. Marjorie Taylor Greene, are we facing a national security threat? It's my duty to be honest with you. Yes, it's real. I went to the briefing in the skiff. It's all, our president is a dementia patient in charge of our country and the nuclear football who ripped our border wide open to over 10 million people and counting from over 160 countries around the world, and 2 million of them were never caught. However, an unknown number of those are in fact terrorists who want to kill you. And then she goes about, you know, the border and human trafficking and debt and interest rates and a bunch of
As
stuff.
people can see, it's very long.
Yeah. And then at the end, she basically says the enemy, the biggest security threat we need to worry about is the enemy within.
So I don't know. My first thought was like BFFR. If you don't know what that means, Google it. But I read that.
BFFR?
Like, yeah.
Best friends.
So I read that and I was like, this is interesting. And then I get to the bottom, it's like, none of this I learned in the skiff. I'm like, okay, so why did you lead with you went to a hearing in the skiff only to tell us that all this is just stuff that you conjured up in your office? Like, I don't, like, it just didn't make any sense to me.
Charles, first off, your mom listens to this and watches this, so please watch your language when
Which is why I did not say.
When you say BFFR.
I just thought
you basically signaled to her to go look it up. So she's going to, and then she's going to see it, and she's going to be very disappointed. I think. I don't know. I'm sorry. Well, I thought the national security threat was the nukes in space.
That too.
I thought it was aliens.
Which is, they have nukes too. They got to, right? I mean, what is she saying that's wrong?
I mean, I don't think anything that she said was specifically wrong in that. I think we're seeing the decline. I mean, do I know that he has dementia? No, but I mean,
yes, you do. You know, he does.
I don't. But I will say that, you know, something ain't right. Like,
what does that mean? Something ain't right.
I don't know. I mean, it could be just simply age, like age, your cognitive decline that comes with age. I don't know what his issue is, but there is an issue.
Are you one of the people that says it's just a stutter?
No, certainly not. Because he's had a stutter all his life, and that is not a stutter.
I've never seen a video of him with a stutter, not once.
I have. And it's not. He doesn't have like a very bad one. I think he went to speech therapy. But my point is that this is not the stutter. Like, no, this is separate and apart from that. This is an issue of cognitive decline. Is it dementia? Maybe. I don't know. But so no, I'm not saying anything is wrong in what she is saying. My problem was it was kind of similar to the what's his name, James O'Keefe thing, where it's like, I just learned this in the skiff, or I got this information, they're going to try to kill me tonight, and then next thing you know, it's like, all right, lukewarm information. For hers, it was interesting, but then you tell us at the end that none of this is what you learned in the skiff. So then why did you start this off with, I just got out of the skiff?
I think her point and the distinction that we got to have when we're having these conversations is, it's not Biden. The distinction is it just poor leadership? We have a dementia patient in the office, for the president, and he's just flailing around and making all these decisions that are leading to negative consequences for the country on accident? Or what I think she is implying is there are intentional forces from within the deep state who are intentionally creating these consequences to bring down the country. And I think that's, now we're in conspiracy world again, but I think that's her implication with this.
I mean, doesn't it have to be intentional at this point?
Well, let me ask you a question.
I asked you first. I'll play the game.
I'll answer your question with a question. Do the urbanists in Austin who are insistent on this light rail project,
whose computer is that? Mine? Yours?
Are they intending for the consequences that are going to come, or are they just so blinded by ideology that they're able to ignore them?
I think that there's a little bit of blindness, as all urbanists have, and they think that the trade-offs are worth the trade-offs are worth it. Whatever the trade-offs are. It doesn't matter if it's if it doesn't actually make things more, if it doesn't make things more affordable, then what will happen is, well, at least there's less pollution because people don't have to drive as far, right?
But the difference being here that the intention of the policy is to cause more traffic, make it more unaffordable. All the negative consequences are the intention of the project, which, if we get back to the subject,
I don't think urbanists are that smart.
traffic. What?
I don't think urbanists are that smart.
But are the people in the deep state that smart?
Yes.
That they're okay.
I think that
the deep state urbanists.
The deep state urbanists are. I think those two cancel each other out. Two negatives make a right, right?
Right.
I think that they do because it's been happening for so long, right? And I think the comparison to the urbanists, they may look at some place like New York or San Francisco or whatever other dense city that's super urban, or Europe or whatever the fuck, and ignore all of the problems. You know, they think that somehow Austin will not have those problems, right? Or Austin, or wherever, Houston, maybe, I don't know, parts of Houston, wherever Charles lives. But the deep state, this stuff has been going on for so long, right? They know what inflation is. They know that when they print trillions of dollars, that inflation goes up, and then they lie to you. They know that all of this stuff is going to negatively affect Americans, regular, everyday Americans, right? I mean, we're going to talk about this in a second, but Greg Casar and AOC know that their connect the grid bill is bullshit. They know it's not going to do anything, and they have an ulterior motive, for sure.
You think so?
I know so. They don't care about they don't care about any of that. All they care about is getting the Texas grid on the national grid so that they can, force more Green New Deal bullshit on Texas. So they can get rid of all of the natural gas. That was the problem. We've heard it so many times. And the solution is going to be more windmills.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, that's true, but that's still different. I think you're missing the distinction here.
How about you answer your question then, Michael?
Are the consequences of bad policy, be it Green New Deal, which would be really high energy costs, rolling blackouts, whatever. I'm not an energy expert, but let's say those are the consequences. Is there intention to have rolling blackouts and high energy costs? Or is there intention to save the planet through the Green New Deal?
Right. I think that's their intention, and they don't care that the byproduct is bad. Like, I don't think it's worth it to save the planet is what they're thinking. Like, if we have to deal with this, if we got to be a little hot in the summer and a little cold in the winter because we don't have electricity, that's okay as long as we save this planet for the future generations. I think that's what it is. And I think a lot of people, they're like, we'll tough it out. And a lot of progressives and a lot of policy areas will be like, yes, byproducts may temporarily be bad, might be higher taxes, might be rolling blackouts, might be flooding, it might be traffic, it might be all of these things, but there's a greater good here that we're pushing forward for. I think that's what they believe.
Yeah, I think it's intentional.
You think they want rolling blackouts? Like, you think you're like...
Oh, I mean, in that specific scenario, I think that they're okay with rolling blackouts. I think they're fine with it. I don't think they care about reliability of the grid so long as the grid is made up of solar panels and windmills. Who cares? So long as that happens. But when you're talking about stuff like what's the debt at? $34 trillion?
Think so.
And then they just throw more trillions on top of it all the time, and they pretend like it's not a big deal. Like, who cares? They don't talk about it. They lie about it. They do everything they can to get you to look at something else. Super Bowl. And that's intentional. They don't care. They're not doing anything to reverse it.
Well, I think on that specific issue, and I know that you're talking about general, and you just use the debt as a reference, but on the debt, no one cares. No one does. The general public does not give a damn. Like, for whatever reason, well, I wouldn't call either of you the general public.
Where are we?
I think you're a more informed electorate, and you pay attention to these issues.
Hey,
even though you're wrong a lot, I think you still.
You being Brad, not Michael.
Yes, exactly. So, but really, I think the average person, that's why like Thomas Massey wears the little pin with a debt clock just rolling, but people don't pay attention to that. Why? Because we don't feel the consequences of it. But if your city was in, which all cities are, a massive amount of unfunded pension liability debt, and they were getting ready to default, you would hear people crying about that because you'd feel services being shut, you'd see police getting laid off, you'd see parks closing, you'd see stuff like that. So I feel like people just don't care about that. Sorry, that's my rant about the debt. I just get
I think I'm not disagreeing with Brad necessarily. I just think, and this goes back to our conversation with Adam Lowy last week about conspiracies. Like, are there smart people that are pulling the strings? I think the Greg Casars and the AOCs and the people pushing the rail are useful idiots. Do I think that there are forces within the U.S. government who are in the business of managed decline, as they call it? Yeah, I do. And some of these policy decisions are intended. But Greg Casar is just a true believer. He's a useful idiot in pursuit of that ultimate goal.
Okay. Maybe you're right. I mean, I'm not saying you're. I think you're probably, if not totally correct, very correct. Right. I don't know if is Greg Casar a useful idiot. Maybe so, but then who's pulling the strings? Like, is the system pulling the strings? It's an invisible guy.
Well, yes, I think that's the case. Like, I think it's the
same handler. And is his handler Huba Abedin?
No, that's George Soros' handler.
George Soros Jr.?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
No, I mean, they're dating. Did you not see that recently?
I did, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I saw their OnlyFans.
I don't think they have handlers, but I do think the system is set up where they get led down these pathways, right? Like, you have the nonprofit institutions. I'm not going to just throwing out, like, say Brookings or something, comes out with a report that says that's funded by this person, and so then that appeals to Casar, and so then Casar picks it up and goes to the progressive activist groups who then take that information. So, like, the system is kind of set up to function that way. I think more so than kind of a specific handler being like, this is the task that you're going to carry out.
Yeah. Perverse